has been a major problem in the field of asthma. The patient is not aware that they're deteriorating until it's too late. It can happen fairly quickly, and then they're in an acute setting, and then there's a requirement for a multitude of more potent medications and often a need for hospitalization. The risk, even before receiving the potent treatment, is making it to the emergency room, making it to the physician's office in time.
We have a problem with asthma because we have a lot of people still dying of asthma attacks. This is a very serious problem among pediatric kids. Are a big part of emergency room visits with asthma attacks, and then there are people who never make it to the emergency room because they have a fatal asthma attack. So we have a lot to do to prevent that from occurring. And part of the story is having a much better handle on each individual to track that person's condition. And so coming up with metrics that have been validated through multiple studies, like, for example, the nitric oxide, could potentially make a big difference. We really don't have any preventive medicine, period, no less in asthma. We have basically a track record of prescribing the same medications, usually the same doses for all people. And we don't have a good way of tracking things. So this is a whole different approach of having exquisite digital tracking capabilities, using new metrics to quantify a condition for that person, and then taking on specific treatments, interventions to prevent, in this case, an asthma attack or any type of exacerbation of lung disease. Why are we figuring it out now is mainly because we haven't had the tools. This whole new era of medicine relies on new sensors, new ways to do imaging, sequencing genomes. Coming up with the tools that would allow us, for the first time really, to have each treatment prevention strategy that's guided by that individual's biology, their physiology. Very different than the way medicine's been practiced for hundreds of years. It's actually a very exciting time because we're moving to getting data for each individual that's patient generated, and this is, I think, very unique. It's this technology of being able to measure something which has not been widely available, certainly not to consumers, and certainly not to asthmatics, and that's the metric of nitric oxide, NO. So that really sets up a whole new dimension in our ability to individualize treatment and prevention in people who have asthma.
Exhaled nitric oxide measurement is extremely helpful in allowing us to provide enhanced management of the patient with asthma. Often exhaled nitric oxide gives a window into the lung of the degree of inflammation. And up to now, we don't have a way to determine that. We look at pulmonary function tests, but often they lag behind. Treatment of asthma has changed dramatically, and we now can provide superb medications to control asthma and allow the patient to have a higher quality of life. But one of the problems has been that, in contrast to this tremendous improvement in drug therapy, we have lagged behind in diagnosis, and being able to look right into the lung and having a window into how much inflammation is in the lung. And we've depended on spirometry, pulmonary function tests, that although extremely helpful, by the time the pulmonary function is down, the patient is already symptomatic. Had an opportunity to utilize the device, and it provides very exact and reproducible exhaled nitric oxide levels. We're in the midst right now of a study comparing the exhaled nitric oxide from the Spirometrix device to a device that's currently being utilized by physicians in the United States and Europe. There is a current device prior to the Spirometrix device that's been available now for approximately 5 years. We use this type of measurement, exhaled nitric oxide measurement, in virtually every asthmatic patient. I personally would be doing that kind of measurement many times every day, and it would help me in the diagnosis of whether the patient does or does not have asthma. It would help me determine in a patient with asthma whether I need to instruct the patient to utilize more medications, whether I need to tell the patient you're not being compliant with a medication, it's important. And I'm extremely excited that finally, after all these years, I have a direct window into the degree of inflammation of the patient with asthma.
We have a new way to track the lung function that has not been available on a wide-scale basis, done accurately and quickly. So this is a real step in the right direction.